And you went from, all right, so from India,
Yeah.
you came, then you went to where?
I became an educator in Jersey for many years. And
Wait, so you left India in what year? What was that?
2006.
2006, so
2006.
for 4 months, right?
Yeah.
And then you went back to Now Just and
I went
stayed.
back to Now Just. I had to finish college. I finished college, and my plan was to continue traveling. But the following year, my son was born.
Mm-hmm.
So when my son was born, I had to do man responsibilities now. Now that freedom, that backpacking freedom
Mm-hmm.
that I just discovered a couple of years ago,
Right.
had to be put on pause for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel that I had to. I don't feel that you have to sacrifice it where it's not gonna happen. I just feel that you need to build. You need to deal with your priorities, and you need to build what you need to build in order to do it now with your family. So now, at one time, I could have traveled on $1, on $1. I could just sleep on the floor somewhere. I can't do that when we got babies.
Mm-hmm.
So from like 2007, and then my daughter was born in 2009. From 2007 to 2015, I didn't travel.
Mm-hmm.
The next time I
8
traveled
years,
was 2015.
8 years.
So at that time, I was an educator. I focused primarily on being a father. I went through a lot of personal things in my life. I went through a pretty ugly divorce, and I don't mind talking about that because I think men in their 30s suffer from a lot of like midlife crises and things like that. Things that men go through in their 30s that men don't talk about because it's taboo in our culture, especially in so-called Latino culture, and you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to talk about your feelings. What do you mean? You crying? You a man? You're not supposed to cry. You're supposed to have how many girlfriends you got? How many girlfriends you got?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So we come from that culture. So when I was going through what I was going through, he didn't even know that God didn't even know. I haven't spoken to him in I don't know how many years. So when I was going through my thing, I felt ashamed, embarrassed. So I didn't want to talk to him and tell him what I was going through.
And
but I could have reached out to him and be like, yo, God, I'm going through a lot of stuff. Can you build with me? But I didn't.
But here's the interesting thing is that a lot of us are going through that.
Right.
And
that's why
our brother, it's important to talk about it because your brother would be going,
right.
or might have had a past
we
that
don't know.
because it's fitting
right.
that way. So I mean, if you could just touch on that.
I do that a lot. Me as a man, I know I did that a lot, and I had to break a lot of barriers, man. And a lot of those barriers were broken. One, because I feel like I was pushing everybody away, and I really didn't want. I was so embarrassed and ashamed about what I was going through because I'm the God. How can you? You know what I'm saying? I'm only the God. Like, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. In my head, I'm like, you know what I mean? You gonna dip on me for 85? Like, you serious? Like, it really played with my ego. And I had to let my ego die. I really had to kill my ego. That's one. Another thing is I felt shame. So besides being my ego, my shame took over. And then my incompetency. I felt like I was incompetent. And I wasn't being a good father at that time, man. I really wasn't.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't. Because I was going
through
so
your
much.
own standards.
Yeah. And I got custody of my children. Because I got, now I'm putting way too much information out. Let me limit, because I don't want to talk against the other person. You know what I'm saying? That's not my objective anymore. Well, I mean, if you would have asked me a couple of years ago, I would have been.
Right.
I would have been saying.
My
next thing.
No action.
I shit down. I still got what? That means I got like 4 years now.
No, but you already, you know what I'm saying? You done dealt with that with Luna's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and I was with you at that time.
Right.
So I know that.
Yeah, but I got 2 baby mamas though.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah.
But I know that what I was feeling, I know that you felt it, y'all.
Right.
But I never asked you because I was too embarrassed and ashamed to even reach out to you at that time.
Yeah.
And at that time, we wasn't even talking much because we just had a separation. We had a misunderstanding, and I went my own lane. And and I didn't want to disrespect your house. Because you know what we was. I'm not talking I talked to you about that, but you know what I'm saying? So I wasn't gonna disrespect your house on that. So and embarrassed. I was just embarrassed though.
I get it.
I mean, but that's something that again, that's something that we deal with as a community as a whole, where we don't really reach out to our brother, because of the shame, the shame of like, damn, like, you know, and you feel incompetent. It's interesting because like I went through something like that, you know, maybe not the same exact situation, but I went something with my son's mother, and I felt like, damn, man, like I failed, you know, like.
Right.
Yeah. I felt
like a failure. Yeah, and you're the God.
Yeah, I'm the God. Right. I'm the God. And what happened? And I felt, you know, I felt responsible. And here it is. At one point, I was, you know, I uplifted her to what I consider a status of the earth. Like you're the earth, and then you disappoint me like that, and then you're gonna take me through this type of shit.
I got you spinning that 1,000.
What the fuck? Yeah. I remember one time I was building with, you know, one of my brothers, and I was like, yeah, I win every time, and then turn around, I was actually taking losses. Yeah. Until I caught myself and said, okay.
That's the ego. The ego is thinking about win-loss, right? But it's not looking at the whole. The ego doesn't look at the whole. The ego only cares about itself. You know what I mean? And I was going through a lot of things on a level of depression, and you know, there's suicidal thoughts. You know, like real talk. I'm being real because I feel that somebody needs to hear this. Because if they don't hear this, then they're gonna think it's okay. And one thing that I learned that was okay is what I was feeling was fine. You feel it. Like I didn't take ownership of my feelings. I didn't take ownership of my depression. I didn't take ownership of my sadness. I didn't take ownership of that. I was fighting against it because that's not what men are supposed to do. And I noticed that about myself. And the only way that I noticed that about myself is because I was surrounded by people who were teaching me this, older men who was going through this.
If Mecca did this.